everyone, I wanted to do a read aloud, and I picked up this book from our classroom. It's called Passage to Fortune. It's probably a book that most of you wouldn't have chosen on your own, which is why I chose it for you. I wanted to do just a couple chapter read aloud. I'm going to split up the chapters into different videos though. That way you can focus on one chapter at a time. As I'm reading, I want you to focus on what is the gist? What is this chapter mostly about? And then in the comments or in the body of the video description, I'm going to pose a couple comprehension questions just to get you thinking about the book a little bit. But to get us started, I'm going to read the back so you know what it's about. Okay. Samuel de la Lore may be just 13 years old, but he's ready for adventure, no matter what his father might think. Born into a wealthy aristocratic family, Sam longs to explore the world beyond France. When a famous explorer visits his family, Sam decides to stow away on one of his ships, headed to the New World, and is bound for the adventure of a lifetime. Sam is from France, and there are some French words in here, so I'm going to try to stop and go over those words as they come up. But if you hear a word that is new to you, feel free to write it down and use context clues to try to figure out what it means. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay. Okay, chapter 1 is called 3 Ships. And I realize that this is going to be backward for you, so I apologize in advance. There are no pictures, so I'm not going to keep showing the pages, but yeah, just wanted to show the beginning of each chapter for you. Okay, chapter 1, 3 Ships. You may have heard of me. I'm Samuel de la Lore, the youngest explorer of the New World, and the richest man on Earth. You might wonder how I, just a kid, came to be the youngest and richest explorer the world has ever known. Let me tell you my story from the beginning. I was born into a wealthy aristocratic family in St. Malo, France. I had everything a 13-year-old kid could wish for. Cooks to make my meals, a maid to make my bed, a private tutor to give me daily lessons. I had a father who groomed me to inherit his estate and take his place in the French court. I had a good life. But it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted adventure. I wanted fame. I wanted fortune. My own fortune, not my father's. I despised my daily lessons, and I hated the food the cooks made. I was bored by the letters and numbers my tutor, Pierre St. Clair, made me practice. I often stared out the window at the clouds whisking quickly by, while Monsieur Pierre threw up his hands and cried, "Attention, Monsieur de la Lore! Pay attention!" The words in the book St. Clair gave me blurred together until they resembled waves on the choppy sea. I leapt from my little desk, crossed my legs, and hopped up and down. "Monsieur St. Clair," I whined, "I must use the latrine." Bathroom. He fell for it every time. He sighed, "Fine, be back in 5 minutes and we'll go over your history lesson." Of course, I didn't really have to use the latrine. I scurried down the back staircase, dodging maids with armloads of laundry or pails of soapy water, and darted out the door into the bright sun. I was free. I knew exactly where I was going. The docks of St. Malo, where ships glided in and out of the harbor, manned by strong sailors who were weathered from sun and wind. My boots slapped against the dock. In my tailored clothes, I was out of place here among the rough dock workers. I nearly stumbled into one worker as he heaved a crate onto the dock. "Look out, fancy boy," he snarled. Some of the dock workers, though, waved and nodded. They were used to seeing me, my fancy clothes and all. "Morning, Sammy," one called. I waved back, trying not to cringe at the nickname. Sammy made me sound so young. I preferred Sam, a strong sailor's name. But anything was better than Monsieur de la Lure. I stood at the edge of the dock, staring out at the harbor and breathing in the salty air. In the distance, I spotted the dark silhouette of a ship. Where was it going? I wondered. Where had it been? I knew it was only a matter of time before my tutor Pierre found me. And sure enough, he soon came bounding along the waterfront, his hair askew and his nose turned up at the smells of fish and saltwater. "Monsieur de la Loure," he called, panting. I heard a sailor behind me snort with laughter. No one was called Monsieur here. That's like a French name for Mr. Pierre came to a stop beside me. He frantically wiped his sleeves as though they were soiled and disease-ridden. "You are not allowed to go running off," he said. A dock worker shouldered past him, knocking him off balance. His arms flailed and he grasped my shoulder, eyes wide with fright. If I hadn't steadied him, he might have toppled face first into the grimy harbor water. Pierre swallowed, trying to remain calm, his eyes darting toward the murky water and back at me. "We must return to the state at once. At once," he cried. I shrugged off his grip, took another deep breath, and sighed. I couldn't argue or refuse. If I did, he would fetch my father, and I certainly didn't want my father showing up on the docks. Pierre took a trembling step away from the edge of the dock, glancing over his shoulder, with alarm to make sure I was following him. I sighed once more and darted in front of him. "Follow me," I told him as I marched easily through the throngs of peddlers, fishermen, and sailors. I decided to take the long way home. Pierre wouldn't notice, or even if he did, he would follow meekly. He knew I could have my father fire him in an instant, and he'd end up jobless like the beggars on the docks. We reached the southern tip of the harbor, and I was about to lead Pierre down a dark alley path when a sight stopped me. 3 tall ships moored, silent and regal. No activity bustled around them. These ships weren't normal cargo ships. No, these were special. The Grande Hermine, the Petite Hermine, and the Emerald. The names stuck with me as we trekked back to the estate. I didn't know then that these 3 ships would change my life. So that was chapter 1. Like I said, in the description of this video, I'm going to add just a couple words that were unfamiliar, or I might think might be unfamiliar to you, and we can work through how to use context clues. I'll provide the sentence that those words came in as well, so we could try to figure out what those words mean. And I will read chapter 2 in a new video.